Hey there, welcome to Module 6 about promo sequences. Now, here in Lesson 6, we're talking about the sales emails themselves and how do you go about writing those sales emails. Now, remember, the last lesson we talked about the sequence and kind of gave you a sense of the different emails you're going to want to write. Now, here in this lesson, we're going to talk about how to actually write those emails. So specifically, here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to write each of the must-have sales emails, how to write the optional add-on emails, and I'm going to give you a copy tip for each kind of email that we are talking about here in this lesson. Now, what I want you to remember and think about is that there are countless emails that you could write. So what we're going to be talking about here are the 12 kind of most common and 12 emails that are in the sequences that I laid out in the last lesson. Now, you might have to add on things like very specific objection busters. If there are specific objections that your audience has that you need to address, you might need to add those on. But what we're talking about here are kind of the common ones that are set out in the sequences that we covered in the last lesson. So with that, let's dive into the emails. Now, the first email is the replay email. So if you have a webinar or video series, kind of any kind of live videos, you need to send people the replay. That should be part of every single sequence. And this is a place where segmenting matters. You need to segment based on whether they attended because you're going to send different messages. People who attended, yes, you're going to give them the replay, but you're really pushing them to the sales page. Your replay email for attendees is actually a sales email that is selling the product and kind of a PS line often with here's a link to the replay if you want to watch it again. For non-attendees, on the other hand, you really want to push them to watch the replay because we talked about this, that in the show up sequence, that people who show up live are more likely to buy. Well, anyone who watches your launch vehicle, your videos, is more likely to buy and be a better buyer. So you want to push people who didn't attend to watch the replay, and you're not selling the product yet for those folks. Now, the copy tip I want to give you for the replay email has to do with for the email to attendees. A great approach is to acknowledge that them showing up was a great first step. Again, the people who showed up are your hottest leads, so you want to give them extra attention. That's why I'm focusing here on them specifically. And acknowledging that showing up was a big first step is a great way to do that. So here's an example from one of my emails, where I'm basically acknowledging that they did something good. They showed up and it was great. And, I kind of have this entire rubric here where I walk through, you're an overachiever, you deserve a fist bump. Training or showing up for the training was a really big deal. You can see I'm really playing up that they took the right first step. The concept of that is by me doing that, then when I say the next step is to actually buy, I'm simply saying, let's continue the journey that you already started. So that's kind of a good way to really kind of dial in your messaging for the replay email to attendees. Now let's move to the second kind of email, the value load email. The value load email is one of the most important you send because it's where you lay out the offer in writing. If you don't have a video event, this is the first email that anyone will get as part of the actual open cart period. And if you're doing a non-launch launch, this is the first email they will get. So because of that, you really need to put a lot of thought into this to really kind of make it a really strong email. Now, here's kind of in broad strokes what you're going to do. Think of it as a Cliff's Notes version of the offer. You want to provide the highlights of the offer. And since you hopefully have a sales page written, a large part of what you can do in your value load email is highlight things from the sales page. Kind of take a lot of the themes, the ideas you're doing there and bring them in. And you want to highlight the benefits and the transformation, because that's ultimately what people are buying. They're buying that they can be different, that they can transform their life, their business, whatever it is. But you also want to include the features. You want to highlight them. You don't want to go into depth about all of the features, but there are detail buyers. So giving them a summary of the features is great. And especially kind of, here's the core course if it's a course, and here are the bonuses, and all of those things is an important part of your value load email. Now, the copy tip here is that early emails generally in a launch tend to be for the spontaneous buyers. And what I mean by that is people who are going to click buy from that first email tend to be people who've already made up their mind or are very close to. So add a little bit of, urgency by talking about an expiring bonus. Like if you have a first day bonus, it is a really great thing to have that and to add that into your value load email so that the people who are spontaneous but not quite decided will say, oh yeah, I want to get that bonus. And so they'll act. So again, here's an example that I did once. I don't normally include bonuses for the template library, but this time I've decided to include an opening day bonus that is crazy good. And so you can see what I'm doing is I'm giving people this added reason to buy now to avoid kind of the FOMO. They don't want to say, oh, I don't want to miss that. I want to get this bonus too. So this is a really great tip in your value load or your first day emails to have a first day bonus and talk about it so people understand they need to take action. So that's your value load email. Now let's talk about the alternative costs email. One great conversion technique is to contrast your offer with the higher priced options that are available. You're doing something called price anchoring. You're making people think, oh, well, the value I'm getting from this product is, and hopefully it's 5-10 times what they're going to pay. And you can do this best not by putting fake values out there, by just saying, well, this is valued at, but actually giving them some real hard numbers of higher priced options that they could, adopt to get the same results. So here's what this looks like. What you're going to do is pick different ways to get the results. Highlight more expensive routes to get the same transformation. But this is not about comparing to similar products. In other words, I don't want you comparing to like someone who has a very similar course or membership to you, but is simply charging more. What we're doing here is contrasting the different vehicles to get the transformation. So you want to talk about, well, if you didn't want to buy my course, you could do this instead, and here's what that would cost. And here's the copy tip. For courses and memberships, the best route is often to compare to done-for-you services, because done-for-you services are going to cost a lot more. And so you want to simply highlight that. One of my classic emails in my template library is this one. Do you want to send my family on a European vacation? If so, you can hire me to create legal agreements from you from scratch, but I'm guessing you'd rather not have me sunning on the Amalfi Coast on your dime. Again, I'm really bringing in the concept that if they were to hire me or some other lawyer to create these agreements for them, that they will be spending thousands upon thousands of dollars to do it. And then I say, you could do that, or you could buy my template library for just $9.97. So you can kind of see what you're doing. You're anchoring to the higher price and then saying, it's a steal of a deal. So this email, the price of the alternatives or the cost of the alternatives really is about positioning your product as a steal of a deal compared to the actual value and transformation they're going to be getting. And you're doing that without like doing a race to the bottom and necessarily saying you are the cheapest course out there if you're a course creator. So that's what this email is about, and that's how you create it. Now, let's talk about the costs of inaction email. This is a slightly different email. So the last email was the costs of the alternatives, like how do you get the same transformation in a different way? This email is about helping people recognize the pain of not taking any action, of not getting the transformation at all. So it's similar but different from the last email that you sent, or the cost of the alternatives. So what you're going to do here, a couple things. You're going to describe the frustration. So highlight the frustrations they're dealing with now. Make them feel that. If you know that people actually are frustrated and are suffering, talk about that, agitate that. You can also highlight negative consequences that could happen if they don't take action. Or you could future pace and say, look, if you don't act, chances are you're going to be in the same place you are right now in a year. And this is kind of a great thing where you have people who are saying, well, I could probably do this without buying the course. This is where future pacing and saying that, look, the reality is that people who don't take action, who don't buy, is it possible that you could actually get this done? Sure. But chances are that a year from now, you will be in the same place and will not have taken action if you don't commit to take action now. So that's kind of a future pace. That is a way to go about it as well. So a copy tip. If you have one available, a negative case study can be a great way to highlight the costs of inaction. People don't think about negative case studies very often, but a negative case study is basically just an example of something bad that happened to someone, and hopefully one of your students, before they took you up on your offer. And one of my classic examples is mine for my template library, Don't Be Like Tarzan, my friend Tarzan K. She's a copywriter, but she launched stuff without the legal stuff in place. And so I tell the story of how it cost her multiple thousands of dollars because she didn't have an agreement in place. So again, it is a story. I tell the story and people can put themselves in Tarzan's shoes. So that's kind of a costs of inaction told through a negative case study. So now that we're done with the negative case studies, let's talk about the case study emails. Everybody loves a good story, so case studies are powerful. If you have case studies, you've got to use them. Now, case study emails, it's basically about describing student success, and you want to highlight how students took what you taught and got the exact results your audience wants. They can be specific or they can be general. If you have success stories from the exact product, use them. Otherwise, like if it's the first time you're launching this product, talk about success of your students or people you worked with directly, of people who are following your method more generally. When I first launched Badass Email Marketing, I didn't have a success story for Badass Email Marketing. But I could talk about people who had taken the advice, taken the guidance I had in some workshops about the same theme, and talk about the success that they achieved as a result of implementing that. So that's the example. And again, these are story-based. Now, again, a copy tip here. This email doesn't need one of your stories. It should focus on 100% on your student and tell their story because, again, the point of a story-based email is to give something that really draws people in. Well, if you have a great case study where you can tell the story of your student, where you can tell kind of, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all in their story, you don't need to add one of your own. So that's my copy tip on this one. That then takes us to the next email type, which is the testimonial email. And a testimonial email is similar to a case study, but it's slightly different. So when you have a bunch of testimonials, a bunch of people who said your product is great, you should use as many as possible and within reason. Like if you have 100, you're not going to use all 100. But here's what I want you to do. Like a testimonial email, really just highlight the kudos you're getting from students and use people at various stages. Over time, you want to make a point to collect testimonials from people at all the different stages of the journey so you can speak to the different people in your launch. In other words, for me, for Badass Email Marketing, it's important to be able to highlight people who got their very first response to an email using my method, but also the people who, like I highlight Jamie Sears, who got 50 plus responses the first time she implemented my weekly email structure. And see, she's obviously further along in the journey. It's not her first rodeo, but showing that even people who are experienced entrepreneurs can learn from the program is important. But you want to have people at those different levels to show kind of the progress and show what's possible so that people in your launch can see someone and say, ooh, that person was where I am, and they got these results, I can too. Now, A copy tip, this really isn't a copy tip, but it's kind of a formatting tip. Using screenshots from social media can be crazy powerful because people can see the comment and don't wonder if it's made up. I'm going to be honest with you. Some people are going to wonder if you're just making up or fluffing or, doing something, to really kind of, play up a testimonial. Now, when you show a social media, cut and paste from your social media in your emails, people are like, oh, okay, it's not. And so, again, from one of my emails that I sent in the Badass Email Marketing Promotion when I first launched, I had these too, and there were a lot more. I mean, it was an email with, I think, 10 of these, just things where I cut and paste and had copied and taken screenshots of different things that people had said in social media about my email and my email training and the difference it was making. You can see it is immediate social proof because they are seeing, they can see the likes, they can see the comments, and people are like, oh yeah, this is a real person actually posting this on social media. So if you can get those, they are very powerful. Now, the next type of email is the expiring bonus email. If you have bonuses that are limited time only, use the deadline to create urgency for people to buy. Now, we'll get to this more when we talk about cart close emails, but human beings, or there's some human beings, and a lot of us, don't make a decision until we're forced to. And so putting some deadlines, putting some urgency is important to get those people off the fence. Expiring bonuses are a great way to do that. So if you have bonuses that expire at some point during the cart open period, you need to send an email about it. And you can do it a couple of different ways. You can do a standalone email. And if you do that, what you'll do is kind of look at the cart close emails we're going to talk about later and just craft something like the cart close emails, but specific to your bonus. The other way to do it, and what I normally do, is include language in another email that I'm already sending. I include something to highlight that, hey, here's this other email, and then I'll have this added point. And you want to act now because this bonus is expiring tonight. So that can be a very useful way as an add-on, especially if you already have a full schedule of emails. Just adding these into existing emails can be, a way to not have to send another email, but still create the urgency. So a copy tip, play up the value of the bonus that's expiring to create the urgency. So if you can actually put a value on the bonus, you should do it. For example, this was from my template library launch where I offered the ability for people to get access to the Fans First Society for free. And I point out that you would normally have to pay $470, or when I open the cart, that's what the cost is going to be. And I was giving that to them as free. Again, part of the lure here was the offer I was making was that you would get the template library for $997. So I'm saying you're going to get that plus I'm going to give you something that's worth almost half as much for free, but you got to act by tonight. So again, it's about creating the urgency and reason to buy. So that's your expiring bonus. The next kind of email is the sales page abandoner email. This is an email that a lot of people aren't sending, and you should add it. I talked about it in the sequencing, but everyone should add this if at all possible. People who visited your sales page are hot leads. So reach out to them directly to answer questions. Now, when I say directly, I don't mean individually. That's not what I'm talking about. If you want to, if you're doing a smaller launch and you want to do bomb videos or bonjour videos directly to that specific person, that can be a powerful thing to do as well. But here, my point is simply you want to send an email that is directed only to people who have visited your sales page and not bought. And here's some thoughts about how to do that. Acknowledge why you're writing. Be upfront that you're reaching out because you noticed that they visited but didn't buy. You want them to know, I know you did this, and I want to answer your questions. And then the point of your email is simply to say, I want to answer any questions you've got. So ask them to hit reply and tell them that you'll personally answer the questions, if that's possible. I mean, at the point that you get to huge launches and you can't personally answer them, don't say that. But if you'll be the one answering them, and if it's feasible for you to do that, definitely say that you will answer them personally because it's important. And so that's what I would suggest to you to do here. Now, a copy tip here. Sending this like on a lazy day is often best so people can actually envision you just sitting around wanting to answer their questions. I tend to send these if you're doing like a kind of a midweek to midweek launch, like a 6 or 7 day cart open. I send this on Sunday because most people think of Sunday as kind of a lazy day of sitting around and not doing much. And I literally tell them that. So again, here's kind of some of the middle text of one of my emails. You checked out the info page for the Online Genius Template Library, but I noticed you haven't taken the plunge yet. Got questions? Today I'm hanging out, having a lazy Sunday in chilly Washington, D.C., just waiting to answer your questions about my template library. Sorry for the cursor there, but then it says just hit reply and ask me anything. I'll personally respond. I'm just an email away. So again, this was for a launch that was happening in January, so it really was cold in Washington. So I was just saying, hey, I'm just chilling out doing that. Another one of these versions, I think the first time I ever launched the template library, I did it email only, and my wife and I were at South Padre Island, of all things, in Texas on the Sunday. So I said the similar thing. I'm going to be hanging out at the beach, having some drinks, but I would love to answer any questions you've got. So this is a powerful email. Give them a sense of what you're doing that day. So personalize it for every single launch of what you're going to be doing, what the weather's like, all those things, so people really can see and envision you and really say, okay, he really does want to answer my question. You will get responses to this email almost every time. Then that takes us to a related email, which is the text me email. Showing people you are accessible is huge. So invite them to text you. And before you say, whoa, Bobby, are you going to ask me to give out my personal cell phone number? No, I'm not. I got you. Don't worry. But this is an email that you're going to send to everybody in the closing day or two of the launch that simply invites them to send you a text message if they have questions. Because when people hear that, they're like, wow, this guy's really accessible. And that will make you, make them more likely to buy. What I'll tell you is when I first sent this email, I had multiple people respond and say, well, I don't even need to text you, but the fact that you're willing to do this convinced me that I want to be in part of your program, so I'm going to buy. So I'm going to tell you this has power even if people don't text you. When they do text you, unless I've actively told people not to buy, 75, 80% of the people who I have text conversations with ultimately bought. So it's a powerful conversion technique that you should implement. So here's how you do it. You get a second number. You can use an app. I use Sideline on my iPhone, and it gives you a second number that basically, with someone texts that number, calls that number, it shows up in that app, not anywhere else. So I know it's for that. So you do that. You give that number out and invite people to text you questions on that number and offer to jump on the phone if necessary. So literally say, hey, I'd love to answer questions. And, if we get in a conversation, it's something more than, for text, we can maybe jump on the phone. I've only had that happen literally once or twice that I've gotten on the phone with anyone, but giving that possibility is huge. And again, I want to stress this point for the copy. Highlight that they will be talking with you personally because they want connection. This is kind of like the sales page abandoner email. You want to highlight, I'm answering this personally. You're not talking to my team. This is not support. This is you talking to me. In my case, it's you talking to Bobby. And the value of that is people want to be connected to you. That's why they are likely to buy. So tell them they're going to get that. So here's an example. Want to talk about it? Wondering if it's right for you? Send me a text and we'll chat about it. And again, this is the Sideline number. And, I'm literally inviting people to do it. And I'm saying that I will personally chat with anyone and everyone who has a question. So that's kind of how to do it. That then takes us to the next email type, which is the enhanced FAQ, or frequently asked question email. And this one is kind of a simple one to think about. Some people want all the details, so you want to make sure you answer them. You answer all these questions. What I want you to think about in drafting this is for the detail people. Don't worry if this isn't something that you would ever read. If you're like, I would never read this thing, you still want to speak to the details because you want to do that. But the answers should be about conversion. In other words, you're not just answering questions. Each question you're asking should be about you coaching the conversion and talking about it. Like you want to pose questions that you can answer and say yes. And in the program, we talk about X, Y, and Z, and it'll help you do this, this, and that. So you really do want to do this. Now, the one other type of of FAQ you might want to have is, who is this program not right for? If you answer that question in your FAQ, it actually enhances conversion, because people who don't fall into that category say, oh, so it is for me then. But generally, I want you thinking about this, that this is not just, questions and answers. It is a chance for you to coach the conversion. So kind of copy tip here. The FAQ should generally kind of include a recap of the offer, and then should address the major obstacles for your audience. What are the things holding them back from buying? Those should be addressed through frequently asked questions, and you should coach the conversion in your answer. That then takes us to the cart close emails. You're going to send a lot of these, and we're going to talk about it, so I want to kind of walk through it. Like I said, some people don't make decisions until they have to, so you've got to play up the urgency. You've got to make sure that people understand that time is running out. Now, a couple of thoughts on cart close emails. Future pacing the cost of inaction, kind of going back to what will happen if they don't act and reiterating that, can be valuable here. You want to include countdown timers in these emails if possible, so you literally are telling them exactly when, and they can see those countdown timers, they can see it ticking down, and they know that time will run out. And cheeky can be good. Even if you're not someone who will generally be funny and those things, since you're going to be sending a lot of emails on the last day, making one or two of them can be a good thing to do. It breaks up the monotony if nothing else, but if you're like me, it's important to do that no matter what, but I just wanted to give you that. So another thing I wanted to suggest, bringing back case studies and testimonials can be a great device here. Including people who joined at the last minute the last time you launched, or who joined already in this launch. And I want to talk about those each. People who joined, kind of waited till the last minute last time and still got great success, you want to collect those as testimonials, because that way you have something to talk about in your cart close emails. Say, hey, so-and-so joined at the last minute the last time I did it, and she still got amazing results, and here's what she said. That's useful. Also, though, if people are getting access to something right when they join and they're already talking about how great the program is, use that. Use those things, again, kind of like a testimonial email, but in one of your cart close emails. Now, cart close emails, really, you can do a lot of different things with them. You can go a lot of different directions, but these are some of the ideas. Case studies and testimonials, and then I talked about the cost of inaction, but the big point is simply to highlight the urgency. That then brings us to the last call email. Give them one last push. Whatever email is your last email in the series is your last call email. It could be, if you're sending 3 cart close emails, it's simply the last one. If you're sending 4, it's the 4th, whatever the last email you're going to send is. And again, in that email, tell them it is the last call. Play up the urgency and tell them you aren't emailing them again, so you're not going to remind them again. You can offer and answer questions if you want to. I tend to get some questions in the last hours of a launch, so I often will say, I'll be in front of my computer for the next few hours if you have any questions. Only to say that if it's true, obviously. And then one way to do it is to kind of recap things quickly. One of the great ways I do it is say, I could talk about, and then you kind of quickly say how so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so say I'm, awesome and how I'm great, or how this person got great results, or how this, but I'm not going to do that. So it's kind of funny. I just did do that, but I do it very quickly. That can be a great way to do it. Now, a quick copy tip. One other thing you can use here, a powerful technique is to acknowledge the journey. Talk about the fact that they're still with you. And maybe even note that them reading that last email means they're interested. I don't always do this in the last call, but I tend to do it in at least one of my cart close emails. I'll say, my PS line is, look, I've sent you 857 emails. You're still here reading this. You clearly are interested. Just click here and go buy the damn thing already. Literally, I say things like that because that's my style. You don't have to be that aggressive, but my point is that you can say, the fact that you're reading this means you're interested, because if they're reading that last email, they still are. So that can be a powerful copy technique that you can use in your last call email as just one last push. So that's it for this lesson, and that's it for this module. Now you have a swipe copy here with examples of each of these email types, actually multiple examples of most. So go in there, dig in, use that as a guide to help you write your sales emails. Now, In the next module, we're going to kind of wrap things up. We're going to talk about the other emails you need in your arsenal, when to keep it short, because some of these other emails that are not sales and part of conversion, we want to keep them short and sweet. And we'll also talk about how to craft those other emails that you'll use in your business. I will see you in Module 7.